And a very good evening to you and welcome once again to Beyond Gardens Live. My name's John Colwell and I'm joined in the studio tonight by John McWilliams.
G'day.
And also Steve McCabe. Gary's missing, but we'll find out where he is in a short while. In the meantime, can we point out that Beyond Gardens Live is a quite unique, not quite, totally unique program in terms of Australian television, in that it's the only opportunity you will ever get to call or to email a gardening program direct and get an answer on the spot. So what are the details? Quite simple. Phone number?
Okay, 6468 5994.
And please remember, if you are calling in, to turn the sound down on your television to avoid that little delay. And the email address, Steve?
tv@beyondgardens, one word, .com.au. And if you have little squiggly, scribbly things in your citrus leaf miner. We'll leave it at
He's
that.
just trying to get away from the call. And of course, if you're sending us emails, don't forget to attach pictures because that really does make the system work that much better. Beyond Gardens Live is brought to you by our sponsors, and they are the Water Corporation, the City of Mandurah, the City of Stirling, and the City of Swan, and we're delighted to have their long-term support for this particular project. It's certainly different to anything else you might have come across before. By the way, if you're watching us on a Saturday, we're not live, okay. We used to be, but we're not anymore. Okay, so let's get underway with a little information about what we did on Sunday.
Yeah, we had a great day on Sunday, and I think we actually left Gary sitting on a park bench.
We're at Emu Lake at Ballajura, and in recent times the lake has been having major problems with algal blooms. So we're here to check out what the council, in partnership with the local community, has been up to.
About 15 years ago, Emu Lake started to experience algal blooms. These are caused by a concentration of nutrients in the lake, particularly evident in summer when the lake loses nearly half its volume by evaporation. Algal blooms are damaging the lake's ecosystem, and the City of Swan has been working with various agencies and community groups over the years to restore Emu Lake to a safe haven for the area's native flora and fauna. Emu Lake is fed by groundwater and stormwater runoff from a 300-hectare catchment area. Nutrients enter the lake as a runoff from nearby gardens and from stormwater systems. The lake does not have an outlet, and concentration of these nutrients lead to a number of species of cyanobacteria and blue-green algae thriving. To combat the increase of nutrients in the lake, the City of Swan has undertaken a range of mediation work. We've installed gross pollutant traps on all 11 stormwater inlets. These stop leaf materials and rubbish that is washed through the stormwater system from entering the lake. 40 floating island wetlands have been planted with native rushes and sedges, and they've been installed in various areas of the lake. The floating island panels are joined together to create 4 large islands which provide great habitat for our local wildlife. The plants and the natural bacteria that form around the islands strip nutrients from the water. To complement the islands, we've constructed 2 in-clay lake filtration systems. These have a clay core which absorbs and locks up some of the nutrients coming into the lake system. The clay bunds are also planted with native plant species that provide habitat and absorb some of the incoming nutrients. We've also used Foslock, a natural product that when sprayed onto the lake settles to the bottom and forms a film which locks up the nutrients. We've also rehomed some of the domestic ducks that were living on the lake. Quality of Emu Lake has improved since the City of Swan has started these remediation works. Total phosphorus, the main nutrient that we're targeting because of its contribution to algal blooms, has reduced well over 50% since 2010. The bright orange algal blooms once experienced at the lake ceased and the wildlife has returned in abundance. The City of Swan produced 1,000 educational pamphlets on nutrient reduction in the Emu Lake catchment area and distributed these to the local residents. We've also installed almost 25 educational signs throughout the Emu Lake catchment. We know the residents value the lake and many have taken this information to heart and made the changes to protect its ecosystems. The City of Swan also provided 5 free Beyond Garden public workshops. More than 200 residents have attended the sessions which provided an unbiased, non-commercial advice on environmentally sensitive garden practices. As part of these workshops, the City has worked with the Water Corporation, Beyond Gardens team and the local residents to give away more than 15 verge makeovers. During a makeover, lawn verges are replaced with native verges, saving the resident water, time and money, and they look terrific. The future of Emu Lake is looking bright. and I'm very pleased to say in the next few years we intend to install additional constructed wetlands and to treat the nutrient-rich stormwater entering the lake, as well as creating 4,300 square metres of vegetated habitat. Over the next 2 years we are also aiming to restock Emu Lake with native freshwater fish after the koi carp has been eradicated. Together with works already completed, this should help control the level of cyanobacteria and the blue-green algae. But the city staff will continue to complete regular water quality sampling at all 4 sites on the lake to ensure we continue to win this battle.
It's a wonderful success story in Emu Lake. There's a way to go yet, obviously, but some great and interesting measures they've taken to control that. And it goes to show what can happen on a bigger scale if we all get together and get our act in.
Yeah,
together.
absolutely.
What's interesting is that what they've been doing is fixing the problems from the nutrients going into the lake. After the nutrients have gone into the lake, maybe we should talk about stopping the nutrients going into the lake in the first place. What can the home gardener do?
Well, it's not only saving the lake, maybe not even someone's prime motivation, you'd be saving a whole heap of money as well. People overspend on fertiliser, and the majority of that fertiliser doesn't get to their plants. It washes away.
So most of the nutrients in the lake, and we saw that big sock catching debris as it went in, but most of the nutrients would be coming from fertilisers.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So
absolutely.
Cut back on the amount of fertilisers, basically, because we do, unwittingly in some cases, and otherwise quite deliberately, overdo fertilisers because we think it's something we've got it in for. As you probably gather if you watch the program regularly, we still think if a little is good, a lot's got to be better. And it's not. You get some huge problems. Okay, so that's Emu Lake. And we will be discussing other topics as we go through. But first, perhaps we should go to some emails. A reminder, please, though, of the contact details. First of all, if you're hanging by your phone, I suggest you get in early, because we normally do get a last-minute rush.
Yes, we do, and you can call us on 6468 5994. But going to emails, we've got some great emails this week, actually. This email's from Gordon. He lives down in Mandurah. He actually has a mango tree. It's about 18 years old. It's around about the 5 metre tall, and each season, so February to March, it gives them about 100 mangoes. And it makes them very happy.
Okay.
So this one's basically...
He did brag and send us a picture, didn't he, of the mango tree. There it is. Wow, look at that.
Absolutely. I mean, this is just a purely to brag.
Well, I wish I had that. I wish I had that in my backyard. But a couple of things. I mean, first, doesn't it look like a nice tree?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a nice shaped tree.
It's a great
So it's giving us shade and all the other great features, air conditioning, but it's giving us mangoes too. What about the paving?
I'm genuinely amazed as to how well that tree's performing with paving almost up to the trunk there. The paving, miraculously also, after 18 years, the paving hasn't really been disturbed by the root system. So you're doing very well, Gordon. That's, it's
terrific.
Yeah, keep up the good work, and you know where to send the mangoes.
The photo makes a very good point, a point that we make sometimes. You can have a look at the drip line of that mango tree, and it's all paved. And there's some evidence that the roots of trees go far and wide.
So
the reason that tree's going so well is obviously getting its roots into something other than that paving.
And looking at how close the fence is, probably the neighbour's garden. That's where the neighbours are watering and fertilising it for him. So
on the subject of mangoes, we had a catch-up last week, and I'm sorry that I couldn't give a direct answer at the time, but I went home and did a bit of homework. John of Leaderville asked us, you might remember, about varieties of mango and which might be better. He had two that he wanted to comment on. First was Florigon, which is so-called because it's a blend of Florida and Saigon. That's the theory of it anyway. 1932 seedling, so it's been around for a long time. Not exactly a new one. Good flavour and production, but a very vigorous, upright tree, and I do mean vigorous, so that probably rules that one out. And the other one was Valencia Pride, which also has its origins back in the 30s in Florida. That has a different sort of fruit, long, slender fruit, great fruit production, late season, could be a problem in cooler climes, but again, very vigorous tree, up to 20 metres. So it's not one for your backyard. I would suggest, as I did last week, and perhaps it was more luck than judgment, that Kensington Pride is still the one for us.
Yeah, and that's it.
Maximum 8 metres.
Yeah.
Yep.
And after, there are reasons why some of them work best for us.
Yep.
And that's
Actually, there's a picture here of Kensington Pride at maturity, and that's about as big as it gets. Maybe a little bit bigger, but not much more than that.
Yep.
So it's a very manageable tree in suburbia, and a very tasty tree too.
Oh, they're fantastic. I'm happy to boast that I got one off my tree this year. It was the first year in the ground, so we're happy. So.
Okay. One of the things about Kensington Pride, by the way, and I suspect that our previous picture was Kensington Pride too, is that it will be a little bit variable in its fruit production. One heavy year, not much next year. Enjoy the mango while you can.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, emails.
We've actually got a caller on the line. Shall we?
Oh, well, in that case, let's say hello to the caller.
Yes, exactly. Good evening,
hello, caller. Welcome to our garden.
Hello, John.
Hello.
My name is Eileen, and I live in Wandowie.
Eileen in Wandowie.
Yes, Irene. What can we do for you?
I have a pair of pistachio nut trees,
Aha.
and they're bleeding a white sap. When I cut it, it appears that there's something bored into it. It doesn't appear to be damaging the tree. Will it damage the tree, and do I need to deal with it?
Well, I'd say yes, it will.
Yeah.
Pistachios, for those people not familiar with them, are a delightful nut and so Moorish. They are the real
they're
Moorish
my favourite. They are.
I defy anybody to have
One.
two pistachios or just one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The trees themselves have some particular requirements, so they're not the easiest of trees to grow, as you probably are experiencing, Irene. We do need one male and several females. They're wind pollinated, but if you've only got room for two, then you've got to have one of each. They love very, very cold winters, and they love very, very hot summers. Which is why they do very well in many regional parts of WA rather than the metropolitan area, which is a little bit mild. That's the overall picture. Something is boring in to your pistachio, and that something needs to be found because they don't grow all that vigorously, so they don't need much to check them, to hold them back. Yeah, try and, if you can discover what it is, Irene.
It's very small.
Very small.
They're like 7. It's a male and a female, obviously. And quite frankly, the female is beautiful and the male doesn't do anything for at least 2 weeks after all the fruiting's finished.
Irene, just for a moment there, I thought you were talking about human beings and not your pistachio. Yes, I mean, that's the way of it. The male tree just produces pollen, and being windborne, it has no need for showy flowers, so yeah, you hardly even see it. The females do have more obvious flowers because they need to catch the pollen in the wind, but you must have both. But I suspect if there's white sap coming out, you've probably got little borers, I would think.
Yeah, that would be my first answer, is some sort of borer.
In which case...
they don't have to be a big animal to be boring in.
No.
A lot of people think that the borers are a large beast.
Find somebody who goes fishing and snip off a little bit of their fishing line, right, according to the size of the hole, and then get a short length, about like that, right? That's about all you need. And poke it in the hole and wiggle it around. Shish kebab is the name. Yeah.
Relocation.
Rehoming, but not in a nice sense. It's probably about the most effective effective treatment we have.
Wow.
Hey,
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
okay. Good luck,
Good luck
Irene.
with them, yeah.
I'm tempted to say go nuts.
Oh.
I'd love to. Thank you. Bye.
All right, bye. Where were we? Pistachios.
Pistachios,
Love
yeah.
pistachios.
They're fantastic.
When you see them under natural production, and I've yet to see a really, really good crop in WA, somebody might correct me on that, but they yield an incredible 5 to 9 kilos a tree. Ooh, yeah, it's amazing. It is amazing.
Love on it.
Okay.
We have another caller.
Oh,
They're coming in thick and fast tonight. So
we love callers. We love visitors to our garden. Hello, welcome.
Hello, good evening, Jennifer.
Yes, Jennifer.
Yeah. Can you tell me, can lychee tree grow in turf and the surrounding area?
I didn't get
Was
that
that a
clearly, did you?
lychee?
Yeah.
Yep. Can lychees grow in Perth?
Oh, now I would have said no. Well, no, I'll rephrase that. I would have said not recommended because they are the fussier ones. But having said that, I know there are some people, tropical fruit enthusiasts, who do manage to grow lychees and in fact do very well. Let me just see if I've got a picture of so that we know.
I'm in the same boat as you, John. The passionate people that enjoy growing these really hard to grow tropical fruits always seem to get them growing. And
look, it's a relatively small tree when we grow it in Perth, and there's one. I think that's actually a Carnarvon.
Yes.
And fairly compact, as you can see. So if you can provide the protection for it, then you may well. And I say I do know 2 or 3 people who do grow lychees. But not the easiest of plants to grow.
But there's something that is a bit like a lychee.
Indeed, there is.
It's a lot easier to grow.
Yes, indeed, there is. In fact, Steve, there is one right by your side right now. Now, that's a surprise. We haven't pointed out the set, and I point out that these are live plants. Okay, we wouldn't have plastic ones here.
No.
And this is what Steve's referring to, and here's the fruit of it. This is longan. And longan is a much bigger tree, but much easier to grow in Perth, and it will fruit in Perth. But you need a good big backyard for it.
Okay, a second question is, my impatient people diet. I have looked and doesn't have any bug or anything like that. I put some fungicide and pesticide.
I'm sorry, I missed
Impatient?
Well, I think we're talking about impatiens, yes?
Yeah.
And they're just dying back?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I would expect impatiens to look pretty miserable and sulk at this time of year. They are a tropical plant again. You have tropical tastes, obviously. They are a tropical plant, and if you don't keep them in a nice warm or protected spot, they will go off in winter, and sometimes they'll go right off. But usually they will struggle and make a recovery in spring.
Yeah, I've always seen them come back. So
Yeah. These are the sorts of plants that we're talking about, the impatiens. They are very showy, there's no doubt about that, but they're also a little bit wussy. There are different varieties you can grow, but they're all a little bit tropical.
Certainly a container plant.
Container plant, indoor plant, well-lit position indoors.
Yes.
It'll go well.
Yep.
Okay. So thank you for your call. I hope that's useful. I hope that's helpful. You too can call in. Don't forget the phone number, which you've just covered up, Steve, so I can't read it anymore. Can you give me the phone number?
Yes, the phone number is 6468 5994. And somebody is on the line because they've just done that.
Okay, all right.
Hello, are you there?
Hello. Well, yeah, welcome to the garden. Hello.
Yeah, it's John speaking. How are you?
We're well, thank you.
That's the way. Look, did last year 2 grapevines, beetless and ones are red, to grow over a trellis of my vegetables. I'm just wondering, mold or fungus should I give to those grapes, and at what time, winter, lasts over summer to mold-free?
I think you're being thrown a bit by the fact that you've got the television sound on as well. While you go and turn the television sound down, can I just remind everybody else, if you are going to call in, please turn the sound down, because you will find a time lag, and it's very disconcerting indeed. I believe we're talking about a grapevine, and did I hear what sort of fertiliser to give it?
I didn't hear. No, I'm sorry.
No? Okay, all right. Are you back with us now?
Yeah, look, I did have it. What sort of mould or should I give the vines over winter, but prevent or fungus over the summer months?
Yeah, okay. The controls are basically you can use a sulphur spray, but only up to a certain point, because once you've got new growth on the grapevine, you will find that the sulphur spray will actually burn the new growth off. So I would, I mean, I'm perhaps a little bit different. to most people in that I don't bother to control mildew, and it doesn't get to be too bad. So I would probably only give it a sulfur-based spray while it's dormant. You're not even pruning them yet, so don't rush into it.
No, that's right.
And then when it's growing actively, you can then come back and give it well, a further spray if you want. You have to use a systemic type fungicide, or let it still do nothing. But there's one other point about them that is worth making. The fungal diseases are much worse when the air circulation's poor. So don't be afraid to prune your grapevine while it's going, and open it up and keep the air circulation. It will make a big difference.
Yep, huge difference. Yep.
Yeah, look, it
I think.
Themselves.
Okay, look, I'm sorry. The sound is strange and we're losing you, so we might have to leave you in the wheelbarrow there and we wander off and look at something else. So I'm getting messages here. I'm getting messages because we do have another story, in fact, waiting for you, and that story is all about a particular place that's very close to my heart. You'll find out where right now. Araluen Botanic Park in the hills in Roleystone has cold winters and rich soils, ideal for growing a range of plants that don't grow very well, if at all, on the coastal plain. Araluen has some great plants, but is perhaps best known for its tulips, which will once again be massed in bloom this spring. These spectacular displays begin with bringing fresh bulbs over from the Dandenongs in Victoria and then placing them in cold storage, just to make sure that all the bulbs of each variety will flower at exactly the same time. Once they've undergone their detailed chilling regime, they're ready to be planted. There are 100,000 bulbs in all, and being tulips, they have to be planted deep in the ground in order to flower properly. That amounts to a lot of hard work, but, as they say, many hands make light work. Over a couple of weekends in winter, hundreds of volunteers, including large family groups, come to Araluen to plant the tulips. Many have been doing it for years. It begins with a plan and marking out the ground to make sure that each variety of tulip goes in the right spot. Then, to get uniform spacing, lattice is used as a template. The bulbs are placed in position and the lattice lifted off, ready for the next place. Sometimes it is one bulb in each space, and at other times two, both to be planted in the same hole. The idea is that one of the bulbs will flower early, and when it's finished, another one will come up into flower, thus extending the season. To get deep enough in the fertile soil of the valley, the volunteers use special bulb planters, and with these, knee pads and gloves, they're ready to go. It's a simple process. Move the bulb aside, plunge the bulb planter in, lift it out with soil intact, place the bulbs in position, preferably the right way up, and then drop the soil back in again. It's not that easy on the back and knees though, so every now and again a good stretch is recommended. What's the reward for all this work for the volunteers? Well, a great family day out, a great morning tea, the satisfaction of a job well done, and a free pass to come back and see the results of all their hard work in springtime. And they love it. So 100,000 bulbs just rearing to go. Interesting if tulips are probably the last of the bulbs that you would plant. Maybe hyacinths you could still plant. Hopefully you've got all your other bulbs in by now. And worth pointing out, because we did get a call about my narcissus stopped flowering. Bulbs go through this cycle where they grow actively, then retreat in the ground to get away from the worst of the season. Sometimes that's heat and sometimes it's cold. But before they go back into the ground, they set everything ready for the next year so they can get in as quickly as possible. So the flower bud is already set before the tulip goes into dormancy. Likewise with most of the others, and it will only set if you feed your plants up. So if you didn't get flowers on your daffs and narcissus last year, or you're not getting them this year, feed them now. Next year, you should. We have a caller on the line. Hello, welcome to Beyond Gardens Live. Hello.
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 Yep.
Yes, we're listening.
Oh, all right. You can hear my voice?
I can indeed.
All right. I responding to the question about growing lychee in Perth.
Haven't we spoken to you already?
No.
No, okay.
I
All right.
I listened to that conversation.
Okay, all right. Our speaker's not very
And
clear.
I responded. And I can tell you my experience about that.
Oh, please
that
do.
I can grow lychee in the pot.
Right.
And they're fruiting as well.
Oh, that's
and
terrific.
I live in south of the river. And as well, I grow in the garden. And they're fruiting very, very heavy. They're about 6-7 years old tree. So as long as you give certain protection
Yes.
from hot wind and very, very cold winter,
Yeah.
you will be very successful indeed.
Well, there you go. I do have a relative who's a commercial fruit grower, so he knows what he's doing, and he has lychees cropping at Nannup, which surprises me.
Yeah, that surprises me.
So it is possible. Thank you. And would you say it was easy?
Yes, it is easy.
Oh, there we go. Okay. I learn something every
I
day.
can propagating it as well by marcoting it.
Okay, I'm losing you, I'm afraid, but thank you very much for that. You've educated us, and we love that. We do indeed.
We do. And we've got one more caller.
Okay, well, we'll have more time in a moment, but we have another call at the moment. Hello, welcome to Beyond Gardens Live. Oh, a bit of a delay there. TV might be on.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, we can now, yes.
Hi, my name's Claire, and I'm living in Mundaring, and I have a huge problem with light. Seems to affect my roses, my hydrangeas. It's just the worst part, actually affecting my apples, which get burnt if I spray them with water.
Look, I'm sorry, I'm afraid I don't know what's going on, but we're getting half your conversation, and I'm having great trouble working out what the other half is. Have you got anyone?
I had roses and hydrangeas.
It is better now, actually, yes.
Oh, sorry, I had you on speakerphone.
Okay.
Okay, yes, so I live in Mundaring, and I have a problem with two-spotted mite.
Yes.
Yes.
But it's affected all my plants, but the worst part is that it's actually affected my maple trees, and I tried spraying them with white oil treatment in summer, and of course it burnt all the leaves off. And also I tried, I think it was Confidor or something, but I just would like to find something that won't kill the leaves when I try and kill the spotted mite.
Yes, two-spotted mite is, you're right, it goes across a lot of different plants. The only picture I've got is actually of it on azalea. You can get some idea of the damage it does. The way that it feeds is to pierce the individual cells in the leaf and then suck the goodness out. So you get this dry appearance, sometimes silvery, sometimes bronzy appearance, depending on what the cells of the plant, what colour the cells of the plants are. And it is a real challenge. The pest oils do control it, but you have to spray them very regularly, and of course you can't do it when the weather's hot.
That's right.
If it's an ornamental rather than an edible, then you can use the plant pills, which have got a systemic insecticide in them, and they certainly are very effective.
Rather than spraying, it's certainly probably the better way to go for ornamentals.
But strictly for ornamentals, okay?
Yeah.
Can't use them on food crops.
That's exactly right.
Not a good idea. Anything that eats the plant suffers.
Yes.
And that could be us.
Yep. So hopefully that will help you out.
Thank you very much. That's great news.
Thanks for calling, Irene.
Thank you.
Great.
Bye.
And we thank you for your calls. And it's now time for a break.